Incremental routines. So we start a new session from this course, and it's about myths. Because one thing is to learn, okay, is this other thing about incremental routine, which may seem like contradictory or counterintuitive. Another thing is something you may already know, turns out it's actually wrong, untrue, false. So you will have to unlearn this. In my own case, that's actually what was harder to do for incremental reading paradigm. Not just learning the new stuff, but getting rid of the bad habits and the the myths, basically. So we have quite a few, as you may see. I will start with this one. Everyone forgets at the same rate. Do you think this is true? Everyone forgets at the same rate? At the same speed? So, we will see how or why knowledge representation impacts both how fast you learn and how fast you forget, both at the same time. So what's the clue? Everyone, regardless of learning style, IQ, in the sense that measures intelligence, which is not, but this is not the point of this video, forgets at the same speed. Only their initial speed, or the speed of initial learning, differs. That the higher the IQ, the quicker the learning process. But then the forgetting process is the same. Okay, and with this claim, there's an implied belief that being smarter might help you pick up facts quicker, but it doesn't help you retain them longer. So, some people say that genius and a slow learner forget at the same rate. So what's the advantage? What's the advantage? What's the point? Okay, I'm a genius and I forget at the same rate that I'm a slow learner. Oh, what's the deal, right? Okay. So what's the reality? In a synaptic level in the brain, between the neurons, I will take this for some knowledge for granted in biology. So on a purely biological basis, forgetting is indeed similar for most healthy brains. Healthy. That you don't have Alzheimer's or any alteration. So, and you're not just a newborn. So everyone healthy and let's say adult, so you are 18, let's say, and above, then representation matters. Representation of what? Of knowledge. How you interact with knowledge as a human is represented with words, language. We may differ which language we use, or the people who are blind, they use the braille, or people who are deaf, they may use the sign language instead, but it's still the same thing, it's a language. So, how you encode knowledge drastically alters your forgetting curve. You may remember some videos we did in the past that the bottleneck of Supermemo, should I say incremental reading, is the formulation of knowledge. So when you are a master, you have done a lot of years, accumulated a lot of years of usage and expertise. What will be the bottleneck is the formulation of knowledge. So, in other words, how you encode the knowledge drastically alters your forgetting curve. The better you do it, the flattened will be the forgetting curve. The longer the stability until you forget it. Then, better representation equals more robust traces equals slower forgetting. Easy as that. So it's not just about synapses in a biological sense, it's about how you feed them with well-structured knowledge. And if you remember, the knowledge formulation is a skill. It is not set on a stone in your biology that if you're a genius, you are better at it already. No, it's a skill you need to build with time. Then, let's do about more in the context of Supermemo. Difficulty, you know, that is one of the three components of the long-term memory in Supermemo. So not all of the items are of the same difficulty. So difficult items are forgotten quicker, requiring shorter review intervals. In Supermemo context, what is zero point 0.5 and above, up to 1. And easy items last longer before repetition is required, is needed. So from 0.5 to 0, the lowest, lower spectrum of difficulty. And that is true. There's some knowledge that is inherently easier to remember, and some that is even harder. Then, I'm not going to put examples yet. We will cover this later on in the course. Perhaps in a, I don't know, in a 700 videos later, when we cover the when we cover the formulation. Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm really not joking. It will be about 700 or more. So inside, if you refine or simplify the item, you have to effectively slow its forgetting rate. Because the more complex, the harder it will be that piece of text. The harder it will be to retrieve that. The harder it will be to keep it in memory, stable in memory, without losing details or losing that, oh shit, now I remember partially what it was there, but not enough. So now I miss the point and item is forgotten. So quote, the same piece of information can become easy if it's properly formulated, or remain tough, hard, if it's left in a messy form. Exactly. Not necessarily it's one-to-one. Could be the case that when it's simplified, it's split into 2 items, or even if you push it, 3 items, because you want to be as atomic as possible. So most of the time you simplify, it's still 1 item, but it's not limited to. That means that keeping 3 items in memory, but a lot easier, a lot simplified, is actually cheaper, easier, than just retaining 1 item, more complex, in your memory. So it's not about how many flashcards do you have, how many facts you retain on your collection, therefore on your brain. It's about how much information is stored atomically. The more simplified, the more flashcards you will have per fact, let's say, if this was a ratio. So my idea is that you shouldn't aim to have as few items as possible. No. It's as simple as possible, regardless of the quantity. The quantity is irrelevant. Well, the point is the quality should have to be simple. So the students, learners, and better formulations. You have instinct, but very high level. You have instinctive visualization. Fast learners instinctively break down information into clear connected mental images. Perhaps it's instinctive, meaning it's not a skill they have acquired. Perhaps with experience, they even power up this visualization. But the fact is that it's instinctive. That's why it's fast at the beginning, because it's like, hey, I have the skill already when I'm starting. Then there's connectivity. Those fast learners link new facts to existing frameworks, reducing forgetting. Exactly. I'm learning something new. It's one step away of something I already know. So I just make this connection. Another user will be doing no connection. It's something new and just it's there, floating there. I can't connect it with something I already know. So in my framework, they will have no links. This is called asemantic learning. And then the result. Those learners appears to learn faster and forget slower. Keep in mind, I think it's semantics, but hey, they don't say forget less or fewer items. It's forget slower. It's not about the quantity you forget, is at the speed you forget. You forget slower. You won't forget the exact same amount, more or less, but just slower. So the fast learners appear to learn faster, it's a thing, and on top of that, they forget slower. But it's mostly about skillful mental representation. It's about the skill, not the raw capacity of the brain. Quote, true speed isn't about quick comprehension. It's also about forging lasting memory links. If we go back, the question, in case you've forgotten, is that everyone forgets at the same rate? So, if they appear to forget slower, that means they forget in a different rate. So the myth will be false already. So how knowledge representation helps with memory? Minimum information plus maximum connectivity. You want as atomic as possible to contain this fact, bam, that's it. The capital of this country is this city. Boom, that's it. And maximum connectivity. Perhaps the capital city, as I just did, is quite limited. It's a good example, but it's very limited. But if you have more about, for instance, memory, the synapses, you can link with this other knowledge you have. But again, we will see the examples later on. But what they have in common, in a high-level perspective, is that they have good questions or statements, not necessarily questions. If it's a closed deletion, can be stated as a question. It's a well-phrased prompt, or strong mental associations. Reduce memory stress. It's something that I already have very well anchored in my memory. Something it's very unlikely I will forget. So if I link a new memory to this, it's already have a very strong association. So even if it's new, it will reduce a lot of memory stress. It's very easy, it's very likely that I will remember this fact for longer. Therefore, I will forget slower. But I will still forget it because you are human. So the key is the slower forgetting, not preventing the forgetting. So the more sense you make of data, the more hooks your mind has to retrieve it later. There's one simple analogy. Imagine a rather small city. The one I live has about 140,000 people. So more or less this size. What happens? You may drive and oh shit, this street is cut today because they are in constructions or has been a fire, whatever that may be. That on your GPS that was not present, whatever. So what you're going to do? Hey, I cannot use this link to connect this street to this street. I want to go shopping, let's say. Hey, I have to go an alternative route. So the more I know the streets and perhaps the orientation, because some streets are not both ways, because the cities are smaller, the more hooks I know, the easier it is to have an alternative route and get to the same place, get to the shopping mall. But if I only have one anchor, I only have one link, and then, hey, this link is lost, or I cannot retrieve it, so it's there in my brain, but I cannot access it for whatever reason, what do we do? I don't know any other connection. More or less, with this, very simplified, is, oh man, I cannot retrieve it like that, but since it's connected with more stuff, I can have alternative ways to achieve the same route. So the connection with the neuron is more effortful, it has a greater distance, has to travel a few more connections, meaning it's not optimal, but I can retrieve that piece of memory because it has more associations, it has more hooks. So it's a win-win situation. Then, quote, neatly structured knowledge clings to your memory and chaos crumbles fast. So when it's very atomic, like it's very beautiful, if it was like poetry, it will be cosmetically beautiful to see like in the knowledge tree, the items very well put together, the semantic connection, and linking, if you have links to other elements in the collection, all of that, this will be a lot easier to remember than if it's just like this, some bullet points, like I'm doing now. So as a takeaway, the rate of forgetting varies. So, it's a myth. Not everyone forgets at the same rate. Despite synaptic hardware, your brain, skillful representation can slow decay. So, experts in incremental reading will in fact, remember more and forget slower, regardless of the algorithm, because that's a skill. So meaning that this person, even if it has a suboptimal scheduling algorithm, will still be better because of the skillful representation, knowledge representation. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Then it's faster and longer, both at the same time. Like usually happens in incremental reading, it's a victory in more than one domain, more than one dimension. So it's faster and longer. The same aptitude that fosters quick learning also fortifies memory. So I can achieve the same result without comparing to a person who doesn't use incremental reading. I can learn the same amount of knowledge with less time involved overall, and on top of that, I can keep this in memory for longer. So I praise a cheaper price and I get more out of it. So it's a win-win. So over time, you refine how you absorb and store info. It becomes like a second level of intuition, like second nature, that they say in English, like a second level of intuition. That is not, you're not born with this, but based on the massive repetitions and trial and error you have experienced yourself, you refine and you'll see, oh yeah, this makes sense, it's coherent, but it's not going to be useful. I will forget it, or I won't get what I'm being asked. I will have interference. So you continue improving speed and retention because you refined his skill forever. Forever. You could say you have mastered knowledge representation, but it's something you never top. Never top. So quote, refine your approach, refine your memory. Both pace, staying power grow. And it's your approach. It's not, hey, improve your IQ and you will learn faster. No. Refine your approach. At the end of the day, it's the method you're using, incremental learning, and the skills you get with it. This weighs a lot more than anything else, as long as you're healthy. Remember that. Everything we say is as long as you're healthy. So the myth has been debunked. We don't forget the same speed, and the effective knowledge presentation and repeated exposure can shift the curve, the forgetting curve, to your favor. And if you want to learn faster and forget less, which are both different things, you can learn faster, but also forget faster, if you do note-taking, will be the case. Focus on how you encode knowledge, not just the raw memorization or repetition. It's a big deal. But first, we will cover in this course incremental reading because it's massive already, and then the formation of knowledge, which could be for more people because it's not limited to incremental reading. People who just stay to space repetition can benefit from that. So the final thought of this video is that even if synapses set the baseline, which is true, your biology sets the baseline, your learning strategy, the methods and techniques you're using, or the software, determines whether new facts fit fast or stick around for the long haul. If you choose Supermemo for incremental reading, and you did it right, you will maximize that. As easy as that. That's all for now. See you incrementally.